Let me tell you something that's going to make you uncomfortable, but every single woman needs to hear it. Your value in a man's eyes can disappear in seconds, and most of the time, you're the one making it happen without even realizing it. I'm talking about those subtle, seemingly innocent behaviors that feel natural, even loving, but they're actually relationship poison. The kind of poison that works slowly, silently, until one day you look up and wonder why he's distant, why the spark is gone, why you feel like you're fighting for attention that used to come effortlessly. Here's what nobody wants to admit. Most women are accidentally training men to see them as low value, not through their looks, not through their success, not through their personality, but through energy patterns that scream desperation, availability, and emotional chaos, even when that's the last thing they intend. And the cruel irony, the women doing this are often the kindest, most loving, most genuine women you'll ever meet. They're giving their hearts, pouring out their souls, bending over backwards to prove their worth. But proving your worth is exactly what kills it. Because high value energy isn't about performance. It's about presence. It's about the quiet confidence that says, I'm a gift, not a given. And if you've been feeling invisible, underappreciated, or constantly anxious about where you stand, chances are you've fallen into one of these 6 value-killing traps. The next 30 minutes will expose exactly what they are and show you how to reclaim the magnetic energy that makes men chase, not the energy that makes them comfortable enough to take you for granted. Before we dive into the behaviors that kill your value, you need to understand something fundamental about how masculine energy operates. And I'm not talking about toxic masculinity or outdated gender roles. I'm talking about primal psychological wiring that exists whether we like it or not. Masculine energy is driven by one core principle, the hunt. Not hunting women like objects, but the psychological drive to pursue, earn, and conquer challenges that feel worthy of effort. This isn't about games or manipulation. It's about understanding that desire is created through polarity, mystery, and yes, a degree of uncertainty. Here's what most relationship advice gets wrong. It tells you to be yourself, communicate your feelings, and show your interest clearly. All good advice for long-term relationships, but terrible advice for creating initial attraction and maintaining sexual tension. Because here's the thing, when you make yourself completely available, completely predictable, completely safe, you remove the very elements that create desire. You become comfortable, and comfortable while nice isn't magnetic. Men don't just want to be chosen. They want to feel like they've earned being chosen. They want to feel like your attention, your time, your energy is special because it's not given to everyone. They want to feel like they're winning something valuable, not receiving charity. This doesn't mean you should be fake or play hard to get. It means you should actually be hard to get. There's a difference. Being hard to get is performance. Being hard to get is standards. The women who understand this naturally carry themselves differently. They don't chase validation. They don't need constant reassurance. They don't make men the center of their universe. Instead, they create space for men to step into their masculine energy by staying firmly rooted in their feminine power. And that feminine power, it's magnetic precisely because it's contained, it's selective, it's not desperate for approval. It draws men in because it challenges them to rise, to pursue, to prove themselves worthy of such a centered, self-possessed woman. The moment you understand this psychology, everything changes because you stop doing the very things that accidentally push high-quality men away, and you start embodying the energy that pulls them toward you like a magnet. Let's start with the most dangerous mistake women make, especially with men they really like: becoming emotionally available before he's earned it. I see this everywhere. A woman meets a man, feels a connection, and immediately opens up the emotional floodgates. She shares her deepest fears, her relationship history, her insecurities, her dreams, her family drama. She thinks she's building intimacy. But what she's actually doing is giving away her mystery, her depth, her emotional value for free. Here's what happens in a man's mind when you do this. First, he feels flattered. It's nice to be trusted, but then something subtle shifts. He starts to feel like he knows you completely without having invested anything to earn that knowledge. The challenge disappears. The hunt is over before it even began. Think about it this way. If someone handed you a PhD without requiring you to go to school, would you value that degree? If someone gave you a luxury car for free, would you take care of it the same way you would if you'd worked years to afford it? Human psychology doesn't work that way. We value what we earn, not what's freely given. When you share your emotional world too quickly, you're essentially saying, here's everything about me. I trust you completely, even though you haven't shown me who you are yet. And while that feels vulnerable and authentic, it's actually just premature intimacy. Real intimacy is built slowly over time as trust is earned through consistent actions, not just good conversations. Real intimacy happens when someone proves they can handle your heart carefully before you hand it over completely. But there's something even more dangerous happening here. When you become emotionally available too fast, you often do it because you're trying to create connection, security, bonding. You're hoping that if he sees how open and real you are, he'll feel closer to you. The opposite happens. Instead of feeling closer, he feels pressured. Instead of feeling bonded, he feels overwhelmed because now he's not just getting to know you, he's become your emotional support system, your confessor, your therapy session. And that's not sexy. That's exhausting. High-value women understand that emotional availability is earned, not given. They share pieces of themselves gradually in response to his investment, his consistency, his proven ability to handle their heart with care. They don't trauma dump on the third date. They don't share their deepest insecurities before he's even shown he can handle their basic boundaries. This doesn't make you cold or closed off. It makes you discerning. It makes you someone whose emotional world feels like a privilege to access, not a given. And that shift in energy changes everything. Because when a man has to slowly earn your trust, when he has to prove himself worthy of your vulnerability, when he has to invest time and effort to understand your depths, he starts to value what he's discovered. He starts to feel protective of what he's earned. He starts to see you not as an open book, but as a treasure he's been lucky enough to uncover. And that's the difference between being someone's emotional dumping ground and being someone's prize. This one's going to sting because most women don't even realize they're doing it. But defending a man's bad behavior, making excuses for his inconsistency, rationalizing his lack of effort, it's one of the fastest ways to train him to see you as low value. It usually starts small. He cancels last minute and you tell yourself he's just stressed at work. He doesn't text back for days and you rationalize he's not a big texter. He shows up late, treats you casually, puts in minimal effort, and instead of addressing it, you make excuses for him. He's just not ready for anything serious. He's been hurt before. He's going through a lot right now. He's not good at expressing his feelings. He's afraid of getting too close too fast. Sound familiar? Here's what's really happening when you do this. You're telling him through your actions that his mediocre behavior is acceptable. You're training him to believe that he doesn't need to step up, show up, or meet basic standards of respect and consistency because you'll always find a way to excuse it. But it goes deeper than that. When you defend bad behavior, you're also telling yourself a lie. You're convincing yourself that his crumbs are enough, that his bare minimum effort is the best you can expect, that asking for more would be unreasonable or needy. And here's the psychological trap. The more you defend his behavior, the more invested you become in being right about him. You start defending him not just to him, but to your friends, your family, even to yourself, because admitting he's treating you poorly means admitting you've been accepting less than you deserve. But here's what high-value women understand. A man's behavior is information. It's data about his interest level, his maturity, his readiness for the kind of relationship you want. When you ignore that data or rewrite it to mean something more favorable, you're making decisions based on fantasy, not reality. Let me be clear about something. There's a difference between understanding someone's struggles and excusing their impact on you. You can have compassion for his stress, his past, his fears, and still require him to treat you with consistency and respect. Empathy doesn't mean accepting poor treatment. When you stop defending bad behavior, something powerful happens. You start seeing people clearly. You start making decisions based on what is, not what could be. You start honoring your own experience instead of gaslighting yourself into accepting less. And men notice this shift immediately. When you stop making excuses for them, they either step up to meet your standards or they reveal that they never intended to. Either way, you win, because you're either getting better treatment or clarity about who they really are. The most magnetic women don't defend bad behavior. They don't make excuses. They don't rationalize inconsistency. They simply observe, evaluate, and make decisions based on patterns, not potential. When a man shows you who he is through his actions, believe him the first time. Don't coach him into being better. Don't explain to him how his behavior affects you and hope he changes. Don't give him the benefit of the doubt when his actions consistently contradict his words. Instead, respond to what he's actually doing, not what he says he's going to do. Match his energy, mirror his investment, and watch how quickly you stop attracting men who need to be defended and start attracting men who are proud to show you off. Because the right man won't need you to make excuses for him. His actions will speak so clearly that you'll never have to question where you stand. Here's where good women get trapped every single time. You meet a man, he opens up about his stress, his problems, his past relationships, his work drama, his family issues, and your natural instinct is to support him, to listen, to offer advice, to be the understanding, caring woman who's there for him emotionally. But here's what you don't realize. When you become his emotional support system before you're actually in a committed relationship, you're positioning yourself as his therapist, not his romantic interest. You're making yourself available for emotional labor without any of the respect, commitment, or reciprocity that should come with it. Think about this carefully. Why is he sharing his deepest problems with you? Is it because he sees you as his partner, someone he's building a life with? Or is it because you're safe, available, and willing to carry his emotional weight without asking for anything in return? The harsh truth is this: men will absolutely use your emotional availability if you offer it freely. Not because they're evil, but because you're providing a service. You're listening to his problems, validating his feelings, helping him process his stress, making him feel better about himself. And he's getting all of this without having to commit to you, prioritize you, or even treat you as his girlfriend. Meanwhile, what are you getting? The illusion of intimacy, the feeling that you're special because he's confiding in you, the hope that because he trusts you with his problems, he must see you as relationship material. But trust and romantic interest are not the same thing. Here's what I see happening over and over. Women think that if they can just be supportive enough, understanding enough, helpful enough, he'll realize what a catch they are. They think emotional labor equals relationship building. But what actually happens is that he starts seeing you as his emotional support person, not his romantic partner. You become the person he calls when he's stressed, but not the person he takes on romantic dates. You become the person he vents to about other women, but not the woman he's pursuing. You become his unpaid therapist, and then you wonder why there's no sexual tension, no forward momentum, no real relationship development. High-value women understand something crucial. Emotional support is earned through commitment, not given freely to create it. They don't become a man's therapist, hoping he'll become their boyfriend. They don't carry his emotional baggage while he's still deciding if he wants to carry theirs. This doesn't mean you should be cold or unsympathetic. It means you should be discerning about when and how much emotional labor you're willing to provide. If he wants deep emotional support, he needs to earn it through consistent action, exclusive attention, and clear relationship progression. When you stop being freely available for emotional labor, something interesting happens. Men start working harder for your emotional investment. They start valuing your support because it's not automatic. They start seeing you as someone whose emotional energy is precious, not someone whose emotional energy is free. The woman who says, I care about you, but I'm not available to be your therapist until you're available to be my boyfriend. She's the one who gets taken seriously. She's the one who men step up for. She's the one who gets commitment, not just confession. Because here's the truth, men won't tell you they don't marry their therapists. They marry the women who inspire them to become better men, not the women who enable them to stay comfortable in their problems. So stop being his emotional support system and start being his inspiration. Stop carrying his stress and start challenging him to handle it himself. Stop being available for his problems and start being available for his solutions. This is where modern dating advice gets it completely wrong. You've been told to be authentic, to be yourself, to communicate openly, to be transparent about your feelings. All good advice for marriage, terrible advice for attraction. Because here's what nobody tells you. Mystery isn't about being fake or playing games. Mystery is about maintaining your inner world, your personal space, your individual identity, even when you're getting close to someone. It's about not giving everything away at once. But what do most women do? They meet a man they like and suddenly their entire life becomes an open book. They share every thought, every feeling, every experience. They answer every question in detail. They're available whenever he wants to see them. They rearrange their schedule around his availability. They have no emotional boundaries, no personal space, no private thoughts. And then they wonder why the excitement fades. Why he seems less interested, why the chase stops and the comfort begins. It's because you've removed every element of discovery, anticipation, and pursuit from the equation. Men are wired to hunt. Not hunt women like prey, but hunt experiences, challenges, discoveries that feel valuable. When you lay out your entire personality, your complete availability, your total transparency from day one, there's nothing left to discover. The game is over because you've already revealed your cards. High-value women understand that attraction thrives on polarity and mystery. They share pieces of themselves gradually. They maintain their own interests, their own social life, their own emotional world that doesn't revolve around any man. They're warm and open, but they're not completely available. This means having plans that don't include him. It means having thoughts you don't share immediately. It means having a life that continues to evolve and grow, whether he's in it or not. It means being the kind of woman who is genuinely busy with her own goals, interests, and relationships. When you maintain mystery, you maintain his curiosity. When you maintain boundaries, you maintain his respect. When you maintain your own life, you maintain your value, because a man can't take for granted what he hasn't fully figured out yet. But here's the deeper issue. When you have no boundaries, you're not just removing mystery, you're communicating that you have no standards for how you should be treated. You're available whenever, however, for whatever. And that's not attractive. That's not valuable. That's just convenient. The most magnetic women are the ones who are genuinely hard to pin down, not because they're playing games, but because they're living full, interesting lives. They have boundaries around their time, their energy, their emotional availability. They're selective about who gets access to their inner world. This creates natural scarcity, natural value, natural desire. Because when something is rare, when something requires effort to obtain, when something isn't guaranteed, it becomes more valuable, not less. So stop being an open book and start being a great story that reveals itself one chapter at a time. Stop being completely available and start being selectively accessible. Stop having no boundaries and start having standards that make your attention feel like the gift it actually is. Here's the behavior that kills more romantic potential than almost anything else. Chasing a man instead of inspiring him to chase you. And I'm not just talking about obvious chasing like double texting or always initiating contact. I'm talking about the subtle ways women pursue men while convincing themselves they're just being loving. It looks like this. You're the one suggesting plans. You're the one bringing up the relationship status. You're the one trying to create deeper connection. You're the one working to move things forward. You're the one investing more time, energy and emotional labor into making things work. You tell yourself you're just being proactive, that you're a strong woman who goes after what she wants. But here's the reality. When you're consistently the one pursuing, you flip the natural polarity that creates attraction. You move into masculine energy and he falls into feminine energy, and that kills sexual tension. Masculine energy is designed to pursue. Feminine energy is designed to attract. When you do the pursuing, you remove his opportunity to step into his masculine role. You make it too easy for him. You eliminate the very dynamic that creates lasting desire. But there's something even more destructive happening here. When you chase, you train him to be passive. You teach him that he doesn't need to work for your attention because you'll always provide it. You show him that your interest is guaranteed regardless of his effort level. The result? He becomes comfortable, complacent. He starts taking your interest for granted because he knows it's always available. And comfortable men don't pursue, they don't invest, they don't step up, they just receive whatever energy you're willing to give. High-value women understand a fundamental truth. You can't chase a man into loving you. You can only inspire him to choose you. And inspiration ends through your energy, your standards, your mysterious feminine presence that draws him toward you, not through your efforts to win him over. The woman who inspires rather than chases, she's the one men fight for. She's the one they can't stop thinking about. She's the one they pursue, court, and commit to because her energy makes them want to be better men, not comfortable men. If you've recognized yourself in any of these patterns, take a deep breath. This isn't about judgment. This is about awareness. And awareness is the first step toward transformation. Here's what I want you to understand. Your value isn't something that can actually be killed by anyone except you. When you abandon yourself, make excuses for poor treatment, chase men who aren't chasing you, or lower your standards out of fear, you're not losing your value. You're hiding it. You're burying it under behaviors that don't serve you. But that value is still there. It's always been there. It's just waiting.